Hello, YouTube. Let's do a voice check. Can you hear me? Thomas. And of course, my browser is freezing up. Okay, hold on 1 minute. Thank you. Sounds good. That's good. Oh, come on, computer, please. Please work. Well, we'll get to that later. Okay. I know what I can do. I know what I can do while I'm still talking. I'm going to close this window. I'm going to open a new Google Chrome window. I'm going to resize it first before I get to YouTube. Oh yeah. Yeah, that works. Come on. Don't screw up on me. Okay. Let's try this again. I am going to close all my 40 tabs of Google Chrome. And I will give it a minute and I'll reopen it. Today there's a few things I wanted to talk about. First, an update on the hospital bed. If you had heard me last week, they were supposed to come this morning to fix the bed finally. Of course, I got up early, I got all ready. It's a whole fiasco to get ready when somebody's coming. I have to get out of bed, and that involves 3 pieces of big equipment, my wheelchair, a lift, and the hospital bed. It's just, it's not the end of the world. We've got it down pat now. It's been long enough. But it's not easy, especially with the dog running around and Mom having to move the power wheelchair across the house. And so it takes us at least 15 minutes to get everything in position. So we got everything set up, ready to... Oh, we have to put a sling under me. So we get everything in position, ready to go, because the guy told me he'd be here between 10 and 10:30. So we were all ready to go for 10 a.m., but something in me just thought, you know what, I'm not going to get in the chair right now, because I've done that before, and I've ended up waiting in the chair, and people have come an hour late, an hour and a half late, and after an hour and a half in the chair, it does start to get painful. And I mean, I've spent 4, 5, 6 hours in the chair on rare occasions as needed, but it's not something you want to do, and it's not something I want to do. And so, it really isn't a big deal to just get all set up and ready to go. But of course, we did that today, and 10:30 came, 10:45 came, so I called the guy's cell phone number, and of course he didn't pick up. I left a message. 11 o'clock came, 12 o'clock came, 12:30 came, he finally called back and apologized profusely, but said he wasn't going to be coming today because the part never came. So, with luck, fingers crossed, he'll come tomorrow. That's assuming the part comes in the FedEx delivery at some point tomorrow. We'll see. In the scheme of things, it's not the worst thing in the world. It was just another in a long string of annoyances. So that's out of the way. Thomas says, did Laura singing mess up your computer? I can't blame it on Laura singing, but I can't not blame it on Laura singing. It may or may not have been. I won't know. I'm technical, but I'm not that level of forensics technical. We could blame it on Laura. I don't know. It messed me up. I'll say that. It messed me up a bit. Though, truth be told, I like MegaChat number 5, the new one. Not better than the old MegaChat number 5, but much better than MegaChat number 1. Because MegaChat number 1, you have to click off the page. MegaChat number 5, if you put the volume down, it's actually pretty funny. As long as you're not hearing the singing, the video isn't too bad. Whereas MegaChat 1, I guess the audio isn't bad, but the video is not what you want to see. Drawing for the fun of it. Hello, Drawing for the fun of it. Drawing for the fun of it says, sorry I haven't gotten to the script. I meant to. Sorry, just been in business meetings. It's no problem. I check Discord a few times a day usually, and it's no rush, my friend. Anytime. Thomas says, I'm horrible with computers. Yelling at computers doesn't seem to work. No, it doesn't. I think I said before, I got my first computer. I was young. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and been working on them ever since. Started with Commodores, went to Apple, ended up on PCs, been there since. Went to school for engineering, but a lot of my work experience excuse me, a lot of my work experience was with computer networking, just because that's where they needed people, and I had some extra time and I had the knowledge, so it worked out. So yeah, I'm the computer guy in the family. When people have computer issues, they call me. There's actually a couple, at least, let's say one now. One person who still works for the people I used to work for, who still comes to me for their computer needs, rather than going to the computer person they're supposed to go to because they can't deal with that person. And I don't mind providing the help because that was more of a family thing than a job. And, I don't want to leave these people high and dry, so I still help them when I can. So the other thing I wanted to speak about, okay, Drawing for the fun of it says, he's not very good with computers either. He's destroyed almost every tech he touches. Maybe that's why I'm still doing old school animation. So you're saying you're not doing it by choice, but by necessity. Well, whatever the reason, it's really good. Um, and it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, computer graphics are an art form too, but certainly something where you take ink to paper or pencil to paper, whatever it is to paper, it definitely just feels more like art than computer graphics. Not to put anybody who does computer graphics down, because they are amazing too, but you know, as a older than millennial person myself, I can appreciate the feel of paper and the non-digital aspect of something, that it's real, that it's tangible. Oh, and today's shirt is another JUOT shirt, and of course it's got a American eagle on it, which is of course a bird of prey technically. Tough old bird, it says. Sorry, it's mirrored, but it was just a shirt that said tough old bird, and you could put anything on top. So of course I got JUOT.net for reasons I've already gone into advertising. Another day I'm going to do a short history of JUOT, just because it should be told. It's an interesting story, especially how it weaves around my time in the hospital. But that'll be for another night. This isn't going to be a long one tonight. Let's see. Mr. Miles, Chief Engineer Mr. Miles. I'm new. Hello, strangers and strange people. Well, welcome, Mr. Miles. Welcome to YouTube. I don't know if you've ever been on YouTube before, but I am what you call a YouTuber. I talk to people through these gadgets called computers. Sometimes people use telephones or archaic square flat things that Star Trek fans would call pads, but for some reason people call tablets. I mean, to me a tablet was like an ancient stone, but you know, whatever. These crazy kids, they call things tablets. I mean, tablets are either ancient stones or medicine you take, right? Like aspirin or Tylenol tablet. But no. Anyway, that was a bad joke. Hello, Mr. Miles. Good to see you. Obviously, comedy is not my forte. Thomas Potts says, wow, a chief engineer is here. I wonder how many wrenches he has. Well, if he's a good engineer, he probably has a full set of wrenches, both metric and American Imperial Standard, or whatever you want to call it. I just call them right. Oh, it's Mr. Miles' first day on the YouTubes. Well, then I'm honored. I'm honored. I must be the first person you're watching on YouTube. I hate to disappoint you, but everyone else will be a letdown. That's just the way it is. Commander Ironwolf, good to see you. Good to see some familiar names. Unlike Chief Engineer Mr. Miles, who's just wandered in off the street apparently, having never been on YouTube before. I'm not even sure he knows what YouTube is, but he pushed some random buttons or icons and found his way here. He is the Fire Marshal Bill of Chief Engineers. Yes, the Jim Carrey character from In Living Color. Fire Marshal Bill, I believe. Is he just the head? Am I confusing two different characters? It's been a long time since I've seen In Living Color. That is correct. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And you don't have to call me sir. Your Highness, Your Excellency, Birdo Prey 5, those are all fine. Sir is really like an English title, and Americans aren't supposed to really have titles. No, ma'am is not better. You know what? I'll take sir. Sir is just fine. I won't assume genders here. Well, that's up to you, but I'm perfectly happy with male pronouns. Those are fine. I honestly won't get upset though either way, because I'm not going to be a hypocrite that I think that people really shouldn't be getting upset over pronouns. And to be honest, that's going to go for me too. If it makes you feel better to use female pronouns, I don't care. It's really not worth getting upset over, and I would be a hypocrite to say otherwise, because I've told people as much. So feel free. Captain on the bridge. It's Captain Redneck. Hello, Captain Redneck. Is it howdy doody time? Howdy doody is a little bit before my time. I kinda grew up Mr. Rogers' time. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Howdy doody was just a little bit before me. I think maybe my parents. Drawing for the fun of it's going to go back to work. Catch you next time. Take care, Drawing for the fun of it. Thanks for stopping by. Chief Engineer Mr. Miles, I know not of this lore person. Well, Lore, whose YouTube name is Lore Reloaded, was actually the first YouTuber I ever got to know by name. Yeah, he was the one who brought me into this whole YouTube thing, and subscribing to channels and becoming patron supporters of people. If it wasn't for Lore Reloaded, I never would have found Anti-Tracker, and I never would have become part of the overall community. It was a lore video that got me into this whole thing. For years and years before this, I had just been using YouTube as a casual user, looking up videos, watching them, and closing them, and never really caring much about them. Liking the occasional video, rarely subscribing to anyone, but even those I subscribed to, I didn't run to watch the new videos that came out. I always just would go to YouTube when I was bored, waste some time, and then close it and be done with it. So so it was Lore's videos who actually turned me in from a a passive YouTube observer to an active one, and then I'd say watching Anti-Tracker and the rest of you guys do this into someone who actually does their own videos, not nearly as comprehensive as some of theirs, but just it's nice to be in front of the camera, have a place to talk a little about what's going on. He's not disappointing, Mr. Miles. What's disappointing is, well, it depends how you look at it. But certainly taking some of his videos and playing them over and over and over again can get disappointing. I will grant you that. But at the time he made those videos, I grant you, I was laughing my ass off. It was good stuff as it was happening, and it was for a good cause too. So nothing really to be ashamed about. Captain Redneck says he subscribes to about 70 channels. He's very picky. I don't honestly know how many channels I subscribe to. I wonder if I could look that up. Let's open. Oh, that's the fish tank. There we go. We'll come to those pictures in a second. YouTube.com/BirdoPrey5. I'm not signed in this browser, so of course I'm not subscribed, but let's see. Subscriptions. Does it say how many I'm subscribed to? Favorite channels. I've been watching a lot of City Skylines videos lately because I've really been into that game. I guess that doesn't channels, is that okay, all channels. Does it give me a number? No. I honestly have no idea how many people I'm subscribed to, but look at that, 124 subscribers. Thank you guys, really. That means a lot. Well, okay, obviously some of my favorites: Anti-Tracker, Lore Reloaded, Doomcock, aka Overlord DVD, Track Yards, Captain George, of course. Gotta keep the boss on there. He controls the wrenches. Jimmy 1985, another. Who is Jimmy 1985? Now that I think about it, is he an Anti-Tracker guy? I am not sure. And I only added him recently. Oh man. I've been so tired the last couple days. Track Yards, Lore Reloaded, Spike Viper. He is a gamer. He's a young guy. He's in college. He does a whole bunch of those City Skyline videos. Peter Quinn, Anti-Tracker guy. DJ Odyssey, Anti-Tracker guy. Oh my God, that was a slip. Anti-Tracker guy. Excuse me. Captain Foley. Captain Foley. We've got CGP Greg, Captain George, Michael Dunn, Air Force Proud 95. Air Force Proud 95 does a bunch of videos on multiplayer in Microsoft Flight Simulator 10, where he's usually playing the tower. Like he tries to be somewhat realistic in doing tower conversations, but then he just kind of trolls people, and he gets like funny reactions and does YouTube videos on it. And Sam Burr is another person who plays City Skylines. So, okay, this was just a diversion, trying to find out how many people I subscribe to, and it's clearly not here. Well, we'll figure that out at some other point. Let me check the chat real quick, see if I missed anything, and if not, we'll get on to some of the pictures I wanted to get to. Mr. Miles, I can't remember the first YouTuber I got to know. I thought it was me. I had my YouTube account longer than Google has owned YouTube. Pretty sure I have two. Also, Mr. Miles, can't let myself get into games anymore. He's a recovering addict. They're crack to me. Well, I've never been that bad with them, I'd say. For the longest time, I just didn't play any because nothing was really into me. Look at this old flip phone. It's nobody though. I'm gonna hang up. I hold that phone for my mom in case somebody calls, but it wasn't them. DJ Odyssey. Hi, Bird of Prey. Hi, DJ. I feel like I was talking about something. Permission to crash and burn tower. That's exactly what Air Force Proud 95 is like. Commander Ironwolf subscribes to at least 100 people. I hope it's 101 now. Thomas Potts, you have about 80 subscriptions. Even Wasp. Yeah, that's true. I did subscribe to Waspinator, and I didn't unsubscribe. Listen, I don't agree with what he said about Anti-Tracker's kid and genetics in general, but Waspinator is kind of an a-hole like that, and it's just the kind of persona he portrays. And he did admit he was pretty drunk when he said that stuff. And yeah, I think he probably should apologize. But, you know, it's not like he puts up videos every day that I'm running over to watch. I just assume stay subscribed in case he ever does decide to apologize or say something else that somebody watches it and can see it. So I don't, I'm not saying I endorse subscribing to Waspinator, but I'm not against it either. You know, people say weird things. I'm pretty laid back with that type of stuff. Commander Ironwolf, lot of gaming channels. That's a use for reference. Lot of gaming channels. That's a use for reference. Okay, I'm not getting that one. Thomas Potts, Mr. Miles can't remember. Confirmed law causes memory problems. Yep, probably true. Captain Redneck, why does anti-tracker not track anymore? It seems like the setup for a joke. I don't know, Captain Redneck. Why does anti-tracker not track anymore? Commander Ironwolf says because he's the anti. Mr. Miles says he needs to be realigned. Captain Redneck says, so was it not a joke? I don't know. Mr. Miles, Waspinator isn't playing a character. Well, if he isn't, that's even funnier. I don't know what to say. He does voices, but that's what we see is who he is. Well, I mean, sometimes he's literally using dolls or action figures, so he's playing a character then. I mean, I think he had a Santa suit on recently. I don't know. I can't explain everything that everybody does. I don't try to. The guy is knucking futz. He is. But you know what? It's fun. It's fun to watch those people sometimes. Birdo Prey 5. Redneck was referencing how you say tracker. You say tracker like lore. I know. I say tracker. Even my mom called me out on like my first YouTube video where I said Star Trek. And she's like, isn't it Star Trek? Thanks, Mom. Yeah. Track. You know, the fact I can say any of it is good enough. If that triggers you, or triggers you, no. If that triggers you, I'm sorry. I will consciously work to say trek. To say trek more. But I don't know. It's not. I've probably been saying track my whole life. He's poking fun at you. Everyone get redneck. Bring it. I'm not going to read that one. Doesn't it feel like when someone famous has been around, your entire life dies? It felt strange when Pope John Paul II died, and it will when Queen Elizabeth dies. I assume we're talking about President H.W. Bush. As his son described, will probably go down as the best one-term president the country ever had. To be honest, I thought he was going to die within days, if not a couple of weeks, of his wife dying. They just seem like that kind of couple that were going to go together. And the fact that he made it, I don't know, 8 or 9 more months is surprising to me. He kept fighting. For why? I don't know. I guess he just felt it was his mission to fight. Good for him. I mean, he's a life I can't really even imagine. Being president, raising another president, I mean, director of the CIA. He probably knows more things than even the CIA has ever told Trump or Obama or Clinton. I think that H.W. Bush was like the last one to know like what really happened at Roswell and where the alien bodies are buried and all that other stuff. I think once Clinton came into office, they were like, we've got to hide all this shit we've been doing for the last 50 years because these other normal people that are becoming president, they're not going to be able to keep secrets like they used to. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of our nation's secrets died with HW. Make him squeal like a pig. Okay. Waspy Santa, hide your kids. Oh yeah, he had a Santa suit. Mr. Miles says he's a Satanist. I can't wait to set up the tree. Praise Santa. Oh, a Santa? Santatist. Santaist. Praise Santa. I'm not dyslexic. I just don't read words I've never seen before well. I've heard of old people saying Bush knew a lot of secrets. Well, he probably did. That's probably why. Captain Redneck says my grandpa died 8 days after my grandma. They were married 65 years. Yeah, that's exactly what I figured would happen this time. Sorry about your grandparents, but 65 years of marriage, it sounds like they had a nice long life together, and I hope they did not suffer or suffer much. Mr. Miles says, my father died at his birth. I don't know that makes much sense. Your father died at his own birth? Or your father died at your birth, Mr. Miles? If your father really did die at your birth, I am very deeply sorry. I'm curious how or why. Because, I mean, you hear of women dying when they give birth. But you don't often hear of the man dying at a baby's birth, but I suppose it's possible. Of course, he's saying, yes, my dad died at birth. So I think this is a joke, which is fine. I'm all for jokes, and I'm very happy if your dad didn't die at your birth. But if your dad died at his birth, may I suggest that perhaps your mom is lying about who your dad really is. Okay. Thomas Potts. My father died when I was 3. I don't remember him. I'm sorry to hear that, Thomas. Parents, sometimes, I know a guy who's 63 or 65 years old, and both of his parents are still alive to this day, and that's just crazy to me. I mean, I hope one of my parents might still be alive when I'm 65, but one already passed away when I was 35 or so. So it shocks me. I mean, it shocks me how old some people live and how short others do. Sense is like cheesecakes. There's never enough of it. Okay, Captain Redneck says, no, they died in their 90s. In the 90s. I'm over it. No reason to be sorry about it, but thanks. Well, I'm just sorry whenever I hear somebody died. Can we hug you anyway? No. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to some of these pictures I wanted to get to. Some you will find more interesting than others. Okay, well, this first one was in a tweet this morning. It was titled Mission Complete. And that is, of course, the casket of George H.W. Bush. And that is his service dog, Scully, named after the pilot who landed the plane on the Hudson River, sleeping at his casket side. And Scully's mission is complete. So, just kind of a powerful picture. I like it. On a lighter note, this picture, it's just 2 Star Trek Christmas ornaments. Star Trek Christmas ornaments on a tree. But man, the Reliant and the Enterprise like that, it looks right out of Star Trek too. It kind of gives me goosebumps. This picture says so much in just a couple of Christmas tree hooks and a couple of ornaments. I really considered making this my computer background, and I know people do that willy-nilly, but I go years without changing my computer background. I like consistency, and it came real close. In fact, I tried it. The picture's too bright that the icons don't stand out enough. Okay, this will probably be of interest to no one here, but in the game City Skylines I've been playing, I'm quite proud. I've got 4 dams working, each producing the max output of 2,400 megawatts. So that's 9,600 megawatts of power for essentially free. Powers the entire city. More power than we'll ever need. Of course, if any of those dams come down, we're screwed. This picture is from the Alaska earthquake. It's by far not the worst picture in the world, but just seeing a street like that, a highway like that, cracked in half. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I assumed you did not want to hear me cough up something. Just seeing a highway like that cracked, I don't know, it hits me. the power of an earthquake, and that really could happen just about anywhere. New York sits on faults. I felt earthquakes at least twice in my life. Actually, I think 3 times. And granted, they were not big quakes, but the way the land is in the Northeast and the East Coast in general, a quake goes much further in the East Coast than it does in the West Coast. Something in Washington, D.C., you'll feel in New York, and vice versa. And this picture, this is one of the better pictures for this week. Clearly 2 Star Trek fans who know how to hold a phaser. Note, neither of them are holding it backwards. So they are both smarter than the Michael Burnham character. And yeah, I came across that just browsing Imager one day. It happened to be like one of the first pictures on top. So I was like, I've got to get a copy of this one. And yeah, very talented people. Hopefully they might be in, they could come in Discovery Season 2. I might not mind watching it as much. So, yeah. Okay, I'll get back to the chat and I'll answer any final questions, and we'll go from there. Okay, it seems like Chief Engineer Mr. Miles, Captain Redneck, and DJ Odyssey have a little hugging to do. I'm not going to pass judgment, but that's fine. Captain Redneck says Miles is just being a troll as usual. Captain Miles says, I'm sorry if I'm messing everything for you, but I am who I am. Lol. Popeye. I am who I am. I am. How does he say it? I am's who I am's. I am who I am. I don't know. I wish I could do voices like Doomcock or Mr. Miles. Captain George, even. Anti-Tracker does some decent voices. I really don't have a lot of voices to fall back on. I am who I am. Thomas Potts, he plays City Skylines. I was a SimCity fan my entire life. Well, I mean, I remember playing the original SimCity way back in the day. I think it was on DOS. And I loved it. I mean, I loved it. I didn't even know buildings could grow. When I first saw the game, I thought you would just get a block that said R or C or I, and that just meant residential, industrial, commercial. And I just thought you'd get these red, blue, or green boxes, and you'd put them down, or yellow, whatever they were. And then all of a sudden buildings started growing in them, and I was like, oh, wow. It blew my mind. Power stations, power lines. The best SimCity game, though, I honestly think it peaked at SimCity 2000. That game, for its time, was amazing. You could even do a custom map. You had to create a 256 color black and white GIF file. I pronounce it GIF. Some people pronounce it GIF. GIF file, where each pixel was a white, black, or gray pixel, and the amount of white of the pixel corresponded to how big that square was on the map, how tall, how high that square was on the map. So you could make maps that had some super steep mountains and stuff, and I was making custom maps like that and playing them, and it was great. And now, of course, City Skylines is basically the successor to SimCity, because EA Maxis royally screwed up SimCity 2013 to the point that it's basically unplayable, and City Skylines is so much better. And of course, these days that map editor is all built in, and you can do those mountains with built-in tools. So one of the first things I did was make a map very similar to my favorite SimCity 2000 map, which basically had a big waterfall in like one of the corners of the map, and then just the water went through the city. So that's what I've been playing for a while. In fact, that waterfall is what I used to put those 4 dams on in City Skylines. DJ Odyssey. You can see how far one section moved since the line done line up. Yeah, the earthquake. I mean, that road, is still completely passable. There are so many pictures I saw. The roads have just fallen in or fallen apart. I mean, you couldn't cross it. You couldn't cross it with an ATV. You couldn't cross it. You'd be lucky to be able to get across it, hiking boots. A lot of roads, even rails are like that. The people outside Anchorage who live in the other cities, who get their supplies by rail from Anchorage, they're going to have a tough time if those rails aren't fixed real soon, because they don't have weeks or months of supplies in stores. I mean, they get their shipments probably every week or so, and if they miss a shipment, the whole town is out of, cereal or milk. And milk isn't cheap up there. I mean, you're paying like $10 a gallon for milk. It's crazy. I don't know why people... I like to live away from people. Don't get me wrong. Given the choice, I would leave New York City and live someplace quiet, and where my nearest neighbor was, a quarter mile or more down the road. That would be perfect. But I still want a town within, 10, 15, 20 minutes of driving. I want a supermarket. I don't want to have to rely on trains and, one form of transportation for all my supplies for the winter. But more power to them. They want to live there. Good for them. Captain Redneck, I gotta roll you all. Nice chatting. Take care, bird of prey. Take care, Captain Redneck. I'm sure you left by now. Good having you here. Later, Redneck. See you, Redneck. DJ Odyssey says, you're next, bird. Lol. Next at what? Mr. Miles, I do a great impression of Mr. Miles. Well, okay. DJ Odyssey says all I can do is Bullwinkle and Ringo. Thomas Potts, the current SimCity sucks. Yes, the current SimCity is the one that was released, I believe, in 2013 or 2014. I pre-ordered it. It was a $65 PC game, which was kind of unheard of at the time, especially for a SimCity game. And the game didn't even work for like the first 2 weeks or a month. Their servers were so overpacked, nobody could sign on, and the geniuses decided that you could only play the game when connected to the internet. They claimed that the game was so powerful it couldn't possibly be played on a home computer without an internet connection. And that was total BS, because people realized if they started the game connected to the internet and they like literally pulled out their network cable, the game ran just fine. So there was really never a need to have an internet connection, except they were trying to prevent piracy. And by doing so, they screwed all their customers because their servers couldn't keep up with demand. And literally you paid $65 for a game, installed it, which took like an hour, and then you try to play the game and it tells you, oh, server's full, try back in, and there would be a countdown. It would be something like 3 hours, 6 hours. Like, what the hell? I'm not going to be around in 3 hours. I want to play the game now. I don't have 3 hours to wait to play the game. It was so stupid. It was so stupid. And then within like 6 months, they figured out that they could let people play without having to log in first. But it was too little, too late. And the maps are still so tiny. They are a fraction of the size of a SimCity 4 map. I mean, not even a quarter, but like a 16th the size of a SimCity 4 map. And like the water and sewage and all this required stuff for the city take up so much room. If you're going to have small maps, at least make a water pump a 1x1 square. No, they made them huge. They made water pumps huge. They made sewage treatment huge. And it's like half the city is taken up by essentials. There's no room to be creative. City Skylines fixes all that. The cities are much bigger, and you can be as creative as you want. There are literally thousands of mods, free mods, buildings, custom buildings, custom mods, custom ways to change the game that are all free on the Steam Community Workshop. It is everything SimCity should have been, but wasn't. I can't recommend City Skylines enough, honestly. If you have any desire to play SimCity, you should go for City Skylines. DJ Odyssey, there's a mod for Fallout 4 called Sim Settlements, which is fun. All those buildings grow. That's cool. I've never played any of the Fallout series. Obviously, I've been seeing everything about Fallout 76. Honestly, it's probably a game I would like. It's just not a game I have enough time to get into. I mean, just playing City Skylines is already more than the time I have free. And I have a PS4 and I literally never use it. I actually had a Wii also, but I ended up selling it because I was like, I barely used the PS4. I didn't even open most of the Wii games. That was how little I used it. So, and I honestly, I have more fun playing an old classic game than I do half these new games. I don't want to wait for loading. I just want to start the game. If it's a shooter, I want to shoot something and I want to be done with it. If it's like City Skylines, I want to start building. I want the simulation to run. I want to see what I built and I'm done. I don't want to spend hours learning a game. The hugging comment. Oh, I'm next on the hug? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think anybody's coming over here. And if you are, you're not getting past my dog. She will attack. Don't let that cutesy picture don't let that cute beagled face of hers make you think you can get past her. She is a trained attack dog. She will take you down. Thomas Potts has a Minecraft addiction. I played Minecraft a little bit on my mobile device. It was fun. I could certainly understand why why it got so popular. It's kind of like building Legos, which is another thing I used to spend a lot of time on. The closest thing to digital Legos, I'd say. So yeah, I understand why Minecraft got popular. DJ Odyssey had a World of Warcraft addiction for years. I never got into World of Warcraft. I loved Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. I forget if there was a Warcraft 3. But the Warcraft real-time strategy games, I loved. World of Warcraft, I had zero desire. Brian McFarland, howdy do everybody. Hello Brian, good to see you. We'll be wrapping it up shortly. Brian McFarland says, amen bro. At Birdo Pray 5, loving the older games. I need simple games, short them up games. Shoot them up games, I assume. Yeah, that's what I want. I want quick games. Boom, 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 boom. Yay, I win, or boo, I lose. I don't want to have to learn how to run on walls and control 50 different things and have a manual that's with a fold-out map or a technology tree that I have to remember 15 different things I need to make bullets or something. I can understand why some people find them fun, but they're not for me. Those aren't my games. Pac-Man is my type of game. Street Fighter even, my type of game. R-Type, 1942 I think it was, or 1945, where the plane does like that barrel roll when it starts, and then pew, pew, pew. Gallagher, Centipede, Arkanoid. Oh, I loved Arkanoid. The original Arkanoid, you just, the ball back and forth, and it was boop, 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 boop. You get the lasers, and then just start blasting away at the bricks. That was my game. I loved Arkanoid, asteroids, that type of stuff. There's a game called Subspace Continuum. It is free. It is a top-down 2D space shooter with kind of modern 3D graphics. It's a massive online multiplayer game. It is one of, if not the first, online massive multiplayer games ever made. It literally came out, I was in high school. It was owned by EA. They shut down and volunteers took over the servers. So the game is still up and it's free now. In fact, it's on Steam. Subspace Continuum. If you ever get a chance or you get bored, download it and play that. Trench Wars is the main map that most people still play. I used to play it a lot since I started City Skylines. I'm not on it anymore much, but I will get back to it. Every few years I go back to it. It's a great stress reliever. DJ Odyssey still has a working Atari 2600. Good for you. I have a Sega Genesis somewhere, and I believe a Sega Master System. I miss the simple tank game on the Atari 2600. I dug bouncing the tank round off the walls and hitting the other guy. Defender, Pitfall, yeah, these are all great classic games. Oh, there was the old tank game for the PC, Scorched Earth. You'd put in an angle and a power, and you'd shoot the other guy. And sure, the first was just regular bombs, but then you could buy nukes, you could buy napalm, rolling bombs, all this stuff. We used to waste hours playing that stuff at school. Donkey Kong, another classic. Yeah. Okay, guys, have a good night. I have to go to work, Thomas. Yes, Thomas, you have a good night too. You've got to go to work. I am getting sleepy because even though it's only 8 o'clock here on the East Coast, as someone who gets up around 4 a.m., we are fast approaching my bedtime. So I will be calling it a night too. Thank you everyone for coming by again. Next time we do this, I will have some more Star Trek stuff to talk about. I have some ideas. I will put them together. We'll have a little bit more coherent stream, but thank you everybody for coming. Have a good night. Qapla. Okay, let's try that again. Qapla.